Welcome to another live stream, Legends. Well, guys, Bitcoin has seen an absolutely beautiful pump, which shouldn't have come as too much of a surprise for you guys. Sorry, getting tongue-tied already, but after we ended up finding my support here, I mean, not too unexpected that we would have got some sort of a reaction there. When we were trading in approximately this level here, I was saying, although the price was still looking good and I was still hoping to end up hitting that $120,000 target, I figured that, it would make a lot of sense for us to pull back just because we had not retested support of this range. Because after we broke our immediate downtrend, and I'm just talking since we basically had this move here, this would have basically been my lower high on the trend, and since we invalidated that lower time frame downtrend, basically if that was a 5-minute chart, that's where I would be looking for the Stuber setup, right? So I know it feels a lot different on the 4-hour chart. It feels like, oh, we can't come back down to those levels, and if we do, it's going to be bearish. Here's the thing, guys. Support always looks bearish, resistance always looks bullish. That's just the way that our emotions play when we look at these charts, and that's fine. But if this were a 5-minute chart, like I said, I would have been looking for long entries in this level, and that's exactly why I longed it on the 4-hour, because I don't care if I'm looking at the 1-minute, 5-minute, the hourly, the daily, the 4-hourly, the weekly, whatever. Market structure is market structure. And this is where we started our up climb after, well, that's basically where we started our uptrend because we broke that immediate downtrend. So it makes sense that we find that support, but after that, you guys, I mean, that bullish Stuber, it sent us right to that bearish Stuber that I've also been pointing out for quite a while, and this is why this gets a little bit tricky now. Quite honestly, I feel like the market still looks quite bullish. However, as I just mentioned, it always looks bullish when we get to resistance. So I have actually closed most of my position. That was a beautiful long trade, shared in advance, looking for those levels. And I have basically about 20% of that position still running as a bit of a moon bag, just in case we do blast through resistance. But I've also opened a little bit of a hedge on the 786 just to basically protect myself. If we blast through that, then you know what, my long position can take the reins again, whatever. And if not, at least I'm protected from here if we start to reverse. So yeah, basically no matter how you look at it, the bulls look strong right now. However, we did shoot straight up right into resistance, and guys, even if we don't get rejected right here, we are only at the start of resistance. Notice that's just the bottom of my purple box. If I pull a fib from here, because this is where our downtrend started, and since we broke the lower time frame downtrend, well, where did the bigger swing start? Well, the bigger swing started up here at our all-time highs. So that's the point that I have my fib pulled here, and that's why I have resistance starting where I do. This is just a typical Stuber fib setup because we lost this higher low, this confirmed higher low on the big trend, right? We had this high, higher low. We lost that level. This is now, unless we end up breaking this high or we end up breaking this low, this is the range that we're currently trading in. So until something changes with that, I mean, all we're doing in here is we're just setting smaller ranges inside the bigger range. But as far as the macros go, this is the big range that I'm mostly interested in at this point. And basically, as I said, guys, being this is just the start of resistance, that runs us up all the way to about 127.2 thousand, because just as any typical Stuber fib setup, my invalidation is above the 115, and that 115 is currently sitting around 127.2k. I understand that's a far ways away. If you're looking at trading higher leverage and stuff like that, yeah, it would be terrifying to ladder into this kind of a position. If you're more of a swing trader, I would be looking at something like that, just because I would like to pull my average entry, if anything, up towards this level. And then if it gets invalidated, it's not such a big feeling loss. But yeah, at this point, it just gets a little bit tricky, you guys, just because we're starting to get to this resistance, right? So even just zooming into a lower time frame, basically, although we still do have these higher trending buy signals and sell signals on the MDX Trendmaster. You guys know this is one of my favorite strategies outside of using fibs. Sometimes I use the two together. But basically the last few days on the 5-minute chart, we have just been printing higher buy signal after higher buy signal, higher buy, higher buy, higher buy, just a series of higher buy signals. So using the MDX Trendmaster in such a way, you really have a very clear invalidation, just following up the pivot below the previous, just the slightly lower buy signal or whatever. Just using that as invalidation. I mean, we never invalidated this trend ever since we started way down at about 109,000. Just been trending to the upside absolutely beautifully. No reason to really fight that trend at that point, and basically pushed us all the way to my $120,000 target. We actually ended up going up to about 121,000. 120 was just a nice round number that was getting close to that macro resistance. But so we still do have that uptrend on the 5-minute, you guys, right? So on the 5-minute, fighting this is a little bit risky. However, I do give a little bit of added weight to this sell signal that we actually just printed recently, just because it's coming in at a macro resistance level. Another thing to consider, this may have changed at this point. Someone else actually mentioned this to me in a private message earlier, one of my students, but mentioned that on the 1-minute we did print a lower sell signal. And guys, look at this accuracy. That lower sell signal pivot is bang on, like pinpoint accurate on the macro 786. So even though we got this buy signal right now, as long as we stay below this 786, I think we're very fair game for some sort of a rejection here. If we break these highs, then whatever, I assume we're going to go fairly, well, a decent amount higher, probably test the 886, something like that. And, but it's just something that's worth mentioning that, you know, on the low time frames, we're starting to see this weakness, right? It's very possible this already played out, right? It still would have been a beautiful scalp had you taken the sell with the lower sell signal like that. But, yeah, at this point, I mean, typically when I use that trade strategy, I have more luck with that on the 5-minute than the 1-minute, but it is still some very good confluence to have there on the 1-minute that's lining up with a 4-hour or a daily level. So pretty interesting to see that. I would like to see the same thing come in on the 5-minute. That would give me a little more confidence in the downside move coming up, but yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, does it make sense that we get rejected here? Like I said, I wanted to take a look at the long shorts here. And something to consider here, guys, is that as we trade into resistance, at least we're seeing retail being very short heavy, right? Retail is currently sitting close to a 60% short, which means that, you know, top traders are most likely long heavy at this point. So the fact that, you know, if we had retail really FOMOing into resistance right now, if retail longs were going parabolic into this resistance, I would say, oh yeah, it's time for Nuketown for sure. Right now, the fact that retail is trying to short this and this is making it a little bit of a disbelief rally makes me think that there is actually potentially some rocket fuel there to blast us through that resistance. So I'm basically open to anything right now. Like I said, it's a tricky level to be at right now. We're at resistance, but I see reasons why we could end up breaking through that. One big concern I have with Bitcoin is currently the cycle and where we are at time-wise. Now, this does not have to repeat itself. I want to be very clear about that. I also don't want to be the guy that says, you know, this cycle's different because there's bigger players. The thing is, that could be true. But so far, you guys, the last couple cycles, basically from our bear market low to our bull market highs, have been, well, exactly 152 weeks. If I give you something like this, or 152, 153, I guess I might be a candle over, whatever. It's about 152 weeks. Same with right here with the next cycle, about 152 weeks. And we are currently in this cycle at about 150, 151 weeks. So we are getting very close to that same typical amount of time. Now, it's very possible the 4-year cycles are broken and all that sort of stuff. But again, the trend is your friend until the end. And so far, it's just worth at least mentioning and keeping an eye on that from a timing perspective, we could be in trouble soon for Bitcoin. That being said, with the Trendmaster, we are still holding a beautiful weekly buy signal that's still got support below us. We're still looking good, basically, as long as we're above 97K. If we start losing that, I have my concerns that the time is running out at that point. Even if Bitcoin does end up topping, whether it's topped already or it tops very soon, I would still expect altcoins to go on some sort of a run for a while. But, I mean, we're going to have to see what happens with that. As it stands right now, just it's important to be aware, guys, that no matter how you look at it, we have resistance ahead. We have the 786, 886 fib pocket on the 4-hour. This would show up on the daily. It would show up on the weekly. It's the same structure. And then that swing fail zone is basically from my 1 to my 115 fibs. So again, basically running from 120.8 thousand up to 127.2 thousand. So some very important levels to be watching at this point. Let me just catch up on the chat a little bit. Give any weight to the pi cycle top indicator. I've seen it. I've never brought it up myself. I mean, in the past, it has been very accurate from the couple times that I've seen people post it. I would be willing to consider it. I just haven't looked at it. I don't even remember. Yeah, I'm not even going to bring it up for this stream just because I'm not ready to. But yeah, that's one that I would consider. Do you know where that one's sitting right now currently? Altcoins, guys, like I said, all performing quite well. I actually did a public live stream yesterday on my new YouTube channel, and I was saying that as long as we held above this white line, that we were still holding a beautiful micro trend on Ethereum to the upside on the 1 hour. We also had Trendmaster support going up, so just some beautiful retests on that. So Ethereum also looking very good, you guys. Obviously, eventually that trend's going to break, but so far looking okay. I would be, if we do see some sort of a retrace at this point, I was waiting for some kind of a Stuber pullback. You can see I had an alert set. It never happened. So whatever, I'm going to delete that. At this point, I could continue following the price just in case we get that big correction to the downside. I want to be ready at some support levels. But as it stands right now, I mean, I think we have a clear shot to go a little bit higher. We are not at my 786 yet for Ethereum. That would start around 47.20, actually 47.15 approximately. I would start looking for resistance on Ethereum. But again, that could go much higher because we also have the swing fail pocket here. And obviously these are big ranges, but these are big volatile ranges. So that's all there is to it. My 786, 886 fib pocket in purple here, my swing fail zone in red here. So one way that I would consider shorting Ethereum, for example, is if, let's say, we end up climbing to here, just getting a wick above our swing fail and re-losing that level. I would love to short a retest on something like that, but that's still quite a ways away from now. So just a couple of levels to be cautious of at this point. With those resistance levels, I will also map out my current support levels. Something like so. Make that green for the swing fail to the downside, and I'll remove the fibs just to clean things up a little bit. But that's basically what I'm looking at for Ethereum right now. Just a little live charting there for you. I want to take a look. What's the delta showing? So we are currently at some volume resistance right now with the volume delta indicator. The Algo Master. So this one, the auto Stuber fibs are actually a little bit lower. It is pulling from this high right here, this lower high. Now, this is not how I would be pulling a fib like this. So that's why I always say that, you know, I really do like using the Algo Master for the auto fibs to see if they line up with the way I'm pulling them. And although they could very well be more accurate than mine right here, that's just not how I would actually pull it. So I'm going to ignore that. My reasoning for that is because since the smaller downtrend was actually broken here, because here we had our low, we had our lower low, that's our confirmed lower high. So we broke the shorter term range. And at that point, I just consider, okay, well, where was the previous one, right? If this was our low, our one before that was here, and that means that the high from that swing was here. So the fact that we broke the lower term trend, yeah, there's absolutely some potential resistance in the way. But just for the tighter invalidation setup, I would be looking at the full range pull, and that's why I have mine pulled from way at the top there. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. The trend master, we got a buy signal, but it is a lower buy signal. So actually that lines up when I combine those strategies, just because this would be the high point where we got our pivot right before our last sell signal. And in that case, the fib pulls with the algo master does line up with that theory. But again, I just like to have more wiggle room, so I like to pull the absolute biggest range in that case. So there is resistance coming up ahead. We do have this potential downtrend on the trend master for Ethereum on the 4 hour, so a couple of red flags there. But I guess we're just going to have to see what the rest of the market does, like especially if Bitcoin does end up getting a deeper correction relatively soon here. I would expect altcoins to also get wrecked temporarily. And guys, I know that I often say, especially the last few months, I've been so much more bullish on altcoins than Bitcoin, because just I think that the phase of the cycle that we're at, even if Bitcoin has topped or tops soon, I still think that altcoins would make their final push, have one big final run. And if Bitcoin could just kind of trade sideways, that would basically be the best thing for altcoins. But basically, even though I'm more bullish on altcoins at this phase of the cycle, does not mean they're immune from downside price action. Typically speaking, if Bitcoin's going to crash, if it's going to pull back, whatever, I would expect there's a good chance that altcoins do the same. It's just that when confidence returns to the market and we start to see the bulls getting their footing again, that's where I would expect Bitcoin to get some sort of a bounce and just kind of range sideways, whereas altcoins would get a much more explosive move out of that support. So that's kind of my theory and why I've been more bullish on altcoins than Bitcoin recently, as well just some of the signals. I mean, right here on the 4 hour for Solana, for example, I pointed out this. I can't remember if it was the last stream I did a couple weeks ago. I pointed out this potential Stuber fib. Perfect 786 tests, and we're getting very close to the 214 target there. And this again, so this isn't actually a fib that I would pull myself, just from this pivot down here. The reason why I did this is because the MDX Trend Master has that beautiful series of higher trending buy signals, and the most recent highest buy signal was at this level, where this would have been the lows right before that, so kind of where we got our pivot there. And that fib pull did end up playing out absolutely perfectly, and since then printing a higher buy signal again. So just kind of confirming this as our new higher low on the 4 hour trend. So as long as we stay above, we'll say $190 for Solana, it's looking fantastic at this point. I mean, yeah, it's in my opinion, it was fairly obvious that we would get some sort of a reaction. I mean, just like what I'm looking at Bitcoin right now, right? Just looking at that bearish fib pull from the highs here down to the lows, notice where we ended up getting that rejection, right? Right at the 786 there. And even if it's short-lived, you get some sort of a reaction there so often. So not too surprised to see that little bit of a correction there. But again, it just basically pulled back, came back to the 4 hour trend, and then from there, it just ended up getting a nice bounce. It's yet to be decided if we're going to set new highs or if we're going to break through this resistance or just set a lower high, whatever. But either way, this setup was just absolutely beautiful. And what kind of a move. I never even took that one. Unfortunately, I missed my own trade setup, and we are currently up over 20% since that. So, I mean, that's a beautiful trade setup right there. Just a typical Stuber fib, lining up the fibs with the MDX Trendmaster, right? That's been such a beautiful bit of confluence for my trade strategies, just for my trade setups in September. I mean, September absolutely crushed it last month, you guys. Now, this is not typical for every month. It's not like I'm hitting those percents every single month, but the hit rate on those trade setups was absolutely beautiful. So, just the power of using confluence, right? Having a systematic trade strategy that takes the guesswork out. You know, it's very possible that a trade like this would have lost out. That's fine. Losses happen. But at least if you have a systematic trade strategy, then at least your losses are controlled. You know, have those entry levels, have those take profit levels, have those invalidation levels. Hype, another one that's just looking great, you guys. Yeah, we went a little bit lower than I would have liked. However, again, printing a higher buy signal. Look at this, you guys. Look at this on the 4-hour. This thing has been printing higher buy signals. This one would have happened, let's say we got our retest here around $34. And just ever since that, every higher buy signal has been a beautiful long opportunity. And honestly, you could even just say, rather than just the higher buy signals, but also the fact that here we had a downward trending sell signals and buy signals. But when we broke that sell trend, you can see that we basically retested that buy trend right around $17. And it's just been a bull market for hype ever since. If I bring up the daily, that actually lines up very well with the trend master on the daily as well as just basic market structure, right? Let's turn the indicators off and just look at market structure for what it is, you guys. Keep it really simple. Here's a low, here's a lower low, here's my confirmed lower high. We broke that, retested it, boom, off to the races. Price discovery. So absolutely huge. The Algo Master, yeah, that fib pull on the daily doesn't even work out. That was invalidated. It did actually play out. Actually, as bullish as this trend is. So check this out, you guys. So this is where the indicator was saying the high. This is the low. And notice that we would have actually got a beautiful Stuber fib entry and take profits. And again, if you wanted to re-enter, and you would have got 3 laddered entries that time and hit the first target. So technically that did play out. However, it's invalid at this point. We obviously broke above it. The Trendmaster still holding the buy trend, right? I mean, ever since printing the first buy signal on the daily chart, guys, I love the Trendmaster for this. When you have an early chart and you get the first daily buy signal like that, so often it turns into such a nice runner, and this is just a perfect example. Not even a sell signal in the bunch. We just print into the upside. Even when we lost this trend, we still held this level here and ended up we're just reclaiming it now. So hype just looks freaking fantastic to me, you guys. What else? Troll is another one that I've obviously been watching for months at this point. Yeah, even though it had a big correction, that's the thing, guys. Like, obviously meme coins and low cap and early coins, very high risk, right? Because if you would have FOMO'd into the top on Troll, I mean, it had over a 70% correction, and that doesn't even look that unhealthy to me. That just looks like a 70% correction of consolidation inside a gigantic falling wedge. And we have broke out of that falling wedge. We even retested it, the resistance as support, a couple times. Still wouldn't be too surprised to see us come back down and retest it one more time. Also grab that Stuber fib and then blast off. But obviously, if the market's excited, you know, things are pumping right now. I mean, yeah, this thing is something that I'm interested in buying the dips when they happen. We'll put it that way. Cat with Mask, also a meme coin that you guys know I've been talking about for a while. Yeah, it obviously looks weak. However, that being said, it's at a support level. It's high risk. It's currently at about $5.6 million market cap. But even since bottoming out along our support box, right? My swing fail box basically didn't even dip into it, just testing double bottom basically. But even from here, you guys, this is a lot more volatile than it looks. It's up about 30% from there. I was obviously buying, basically just buying the dip, bought the Stuber fib zone, bought the lows as well. That's one that, again, just kind of dollar cost averaging into a little bit. But guys, anything on like those meme coins, the low cap meme coins especially, consider it what it is. It's the Solana casino. It's very high risk, high rewards. So it's one of those things. Don't get silly with your position sizing and stuff like that. I mean, I myself, not much of a fundamental guy, but there's a couple that stand out, like Troll, for example. That is the first meme coin that I've ever actually looked at, bought and traded, understood. It's the first one that actually makes sense to me, and that's why I'm so bullish on this one still. And I think this is just a big consolidation, and I think it's going to go way higher unless the market cycle ends. That is a big if. If that happens, this will not be immune to that, in my opinion, unless it totally trolls the market and just goes absolute moonshot while the rest of the market dumps. That would be absolutely priceless. That would be so funny, but not something I'd actually be expecting. BTC to 118, then up to 133. Interesting. If we could consolidate now sideways and down to 118, then rocket to the next level and stairway up, that would be beautiful for alts. Yeah, it would. It would be beautiful for alts. I'm very curious to see what happens here, honestly. I don't have a strong opinion from this level. I have a bit of a head short. I still have a moonbag running from my longs. That's what I have to do to keep peace in my head right now, because I don't know for sure what's going to happen. I'm just trying to protect myself either way and be ready for either direction at this point. Longing support, shorting resistance, basically. So we shall see. Link. Yeah, I can absolutely take a look at Link. And guys, something I am going to mention quick on my stream here, just in case many of you guys are not aware. Obviously, most of you guys are subscribed to my YouTube Trading YouTube channel. I always upload these MDX private streams thereafter. But I also started a new YouTube channel. This one's more through my Financial Summit partnership. This is where I do my live streams now. I'm doing several of them a week. And yeah, just a new channel. That's where I'm going to be doing my live streams, my public ones. Obviously, I'm still here Thursdays with you guys every week. But that's just my public one. So make sure you subscribe to that as well, just in case some of you guys never got the memo that I started that new channel there. With that being said, Link, let us... Sorry, I know my cat's just yowling in the background. She cannot be contained. Link. Maz, I assume you also want me to look at, just before I forget, I will bring up the Doge chart. Link, what do we have here? Well, it looks like whatever I had mapped out, I don't even remember when this would have been mapped out, but looks like we hit a resistance zone there. I'm actually just going to remove all my drawings and start fresh here. Looking at the daily chart, a couple of things. I don't think it necessarily looks that bad, but we did see a rejection at a Stuber fib. That being said, it's hit its first target already, so that little pullback on Link, it makes perfect sense to me, just because, yeah, we tested up into my purple fibs here, and then coming down to the first target. Very possible that it ends up going lower if the market does see a bigger correction. Very possible, but I don't think necessary. One reason why I think we could bounce early here is because if I'm really microanalyzing, guys, and I understand this is microanalyzing, but really looking at the structure for what it is, this is basically where we had this little consolidation to the upside and we broke it. You can see, I don't know if that would have, no, not quite a Stuber fib pull there. But either way, that's where we basically lost our uptrend. And since that, we would have set, so this would have been our lower low. Technically, this is a lower low. And again, very micro analyzing, I know, guys, but another lower low that would confirm this as the micro lower high. When really zoomed in, you would see it clearer on shorter time frames. But since we broke that, at least after losing this uptrend, we have now also broken that downtrend. So obviously we still have to be aware that there is resistance up ahead, but it at least doesn't look too bad to me. Especially if I bring up the trend master, we still have a buy signal here. We obviously invalidated the sell trend. That is where we had a lower sell signal, and we obviously broke above that level. So love to see that. So often when you get that, you guys, like, so we never had a higher buy signal yet because this was technically a lower buy signal, but we broke that downtrend, right? We broke the sell signal, and then we came back and retested that buy signal, and absolutely would have been a perfect entry along there as well. So another way that I like to use the trend master there. Liquidations, do we got any? What else? Let's zoom into the 4 hour, because realistically I'm just assuming you're not trading the daily. But what is the Algo master saying? So we do, if we climb, if we get a bounce, the Algo master is printing this Stuber fib setup. Very possible. The trend master, yeah, we have lower trending buy signals, lower trending sell signals on the 4 hour. So that's a fairly serious warning. And guys, here's a perfect example. This is obviously in hindsight, but here's a good example where we got that lower sell signal, just warning us that the trend could be shifting. Just like we got back here, right? We got that slightly lower, or even if double top. It is slightly lower, actually, very slightly, but a lower sell signal there. Beautiful call to the downside. Another lower sell signal. Beautiful call to the downside. Then we start climbing to the upside. Oh, look at this. We get a lower sell signal again up here, and that's where the trend started to shift again. So we do still have that working against the bulls at this point. Not saying that it can't be invalidated, but at this point, that resistance for me would be sitting around $24.888, $24.888. Just to make it easy. If we break above that, at least that downtrend is broken then. And then if we can respect the buy trend, that would obviously be climbing with the price at that point. A retest would be a beautiful long entry on something like that. Crow. I can take a look at Crow. Absolutely. That one's obviously gone. Maz, I think it might have been you telling me to look at this last stream as well. Somebody told me to look at Crow, and I definitely didn't map this out ever since. So this, unfortunately, I never had an alert set on that. Missed a good entry. But yeah, beautiful to see that it's basically bottomed out right where I figured it would. And it was the exact same thing, right? We had higher trending sell signals, higher trending buy signals. This is basically the pivot from that buy signal. We eventually get our pullback to that fib. And look at that. Perfect support so far and printing a higher buy signal. And that's on the 4 hours. So it's still holding a beautiful trend. Basically at this point, as long as Crow stays, well, basically above, I would like to see it stay above 18 cents basically. That would be my confirmed higher low on the trend by using the trend master like this. AI charting tools also mentions it as a swing point, although it considers it a lower low because it's considering the lower time frame trend, whereas I'm more so considering the trend master. But either way, it's obviously a level of interest, right? There's a pivot there, no matter how you want to look at it. So beautiful to see that reaction there. I just wish that I would have been paying attention or set an alert. Alerts are your best friends, you guys. I'm trying to get better at using those. I still don't use them near as much as I should, obviously, but that is beautiful. I will take a look at Aster as well, Chaos, after I look at Doge. So Doge, same thing. We obviously ended up testing my fib right into that fib pocket and getting a bounce since there. Obviously hitting my first target, working our way towards my second, but still quite a ways to go. So I would still be interested in playing some long scalps on this because I still think there's room before it hits any serious resistance. And from just an actual market structure point of view, yeah, because obviously, yeah, that fib again pulled from a buy signal. It was actually a lower buy. Either way, had it mapped out. I would actually, from a naked chart perspective, I would be pulling a fib more so from here, in which case it got front run, so the other one was actually a better call anyways. But yeah, I wouldn't have ruled it out if we had dropped a little bit further, because from a naked chart perspective, that was our high. That's our higher high. That would be our confirmed high or low. But yeah, obviously it got front run a little bit. Let's just bring back the OG pull here. What else do we got? What else can I find? Liquidations. Yeah, we got some more liquidity above us as well. Starting to see some below, right? So if we do get that pullback to the actual fib that I had mentioned, that would be something the market makers may try and do after grabbing liquidity to the upside, in my opinion. Because also bringing up the Algo Master, it's obviously printing this bearish fib setup. So if we bounce, then in the resistance is basically starting at 28.8. Yeah, Aster. I did want to look at Aster. I need to check on my positions on Aster because I definitely have a couple open. Let me just check my entries on BloFin. 16178. And the one I have on Aster's actual exchange, a little bit higher. 156. But yeah, both sitting pretty good. Got an obvious reaction off the 786. I did see it a little bit late. Got into a lower time frame, couple of longs there, and just updated my stops quickly in case, because this thing has been so volatile, you guys. These ranges are way bigger than they look. I mean, this 786 to the 0.5 fib target, that was over a 20% move, guys. That very small range right there, 20%. So that's something when you're trading something like this, especially if you're using leverage on something like Aster. Just be cautious when you do take positions. Double check where your invalidation for your setup is and what kind of a move you're looking at, right? Like if this were to go against you, let's just say right now you were looking to FOMO into a long and you're saying if we drop these lows, I want to be out of my position. Well, understand that's a bigger move than it looks, because that's over 16% to the downside in that case. So if you're using something like 10x leverage, you would get liquidated far before you would ever hit your stop loss. So when you're trading, you should always do this. Honestly, good trade practice to always know how much you're going to lose if your trade goes against you, but especially on really volatile assets like this. So important. But yeah, Aster not looking so bad. On the 1 hour, we do have a buy trend currently. We are printing lower sell signals and lower buy signals. That is something to pay attention to. 4 hour, not enough data there yet. 5 minute, we have higher trending buy and sell signals at this point. So basically, and this is good to acknowledge right now because I am going to bump up some stop losses. But basically my invalidation would be here, right around $1, 1.715 is basically dropping below that would be invalidation for this 5-minute trend, because that is basically where we got our pivot right before our higher trending buy signal. So we still have higher trending sell signals, and basically as long as we stay above that. So I'm going to update my stop loss on both my positions to just below $1.70, just to make sure I don't take a loss on either of those positions at this point. But yeah, and guys, that's something that I want to mention too. I know that most people like to use indicators to force as many trades as possible. Understand that there's other ways to use them, risk management being one of them, just like I just outlined, actually using it for, updating my risk, updating my stop loss, making sure I pay myself on the position, because if this trend goes against me with this indicator, then I want to make sure I'm protecting myself again, basically. So again, indicators can be used for, entries as well as, risk management, take profits, all that sort of good stuff, you guys. So it's not just a one use type of thing with indicators. I think a lot of people forget that, and a lot of people just try and force more trades, but that's not necessarily the best way to make money all the time. Good to see. Looking at same fib on your chart too. Nice, Chaos, on the same page there. They have an airdrop, but not sure how it is being distributed. Have I heard anything? No, I was actually wondering the same thing. That's why I'm trading on their platform a little bit, just because I want to see if I can get any kind of an airdrop there. But no, I don't know any of the details or anything. Oh, 17th of October, Plumbus says. Nice. Need to use perps? Well, I sure am. Dot. I will take a look at Dot. After that, I might stop opening new charts and circle back to babysit Bitcoin and stuff like that. Dot has been on my radar a little bit. I did notice it was climbing today, actually. Well, this is what I had mapped out from last stream, apparently. Basically looking at high, higher high, confirmed higher low. We came back, slightly front ran it, but I mean, I consider that a 786. That's so darn close. Again, I never took a trade there, but same thing, right? Just another typical Stuber type of setup. Basically getting down near the 786. I would likely be zooming into a 5-minute if I was interested trading that when we were getting near that level. But either way, hit the first Stuber target so far. Wouldn't be surprised to see it hit the second, which would be around $4.55 approximately. How many trades roughly might you take a week, and what account percent growth are you roughly looking at per month? Sorry, long-winded question, but also how many hours a day would you be at the charts? Honestly, in the charts, usually it's hard to say how long I'm at them, because usually I just check them frequently, but I can basically look at a chart and within 20 seconds I know if there's something catching my eye or not. Honestly, probably more like 10. So it's just that I frequently check but don't spend a ton of time, and I do most of my analysis on my phone on the go because I'm just comfortable doing it, and I don't want to be glued to my computer screen all day. But to answer as far as how many trades a day, I mean, just to bring up my September results, approximately 80 trades, so getting close to 3 trades a day basically. It totally depends. There's some days where I probably take 10 trades and other days where I don't take any if I have nice running positions. So it really depends. And again, this is not the typical month results, but yeah, that's kind of the results from September anyways. As far as an average month, it totally depends on the month. It really depends, because I mean, September I was just on fire with altcoins and seeing so many. The MDX Trendmaster was trending so well with some of them. It would just trend for days, and it would often be like, well, I got 5 to 10 trades on a coin just following the MDX Trendmaster, because it kept printing higher buy signals, kind of a thing. So September I just found was really nailing it with that, so I was able to take a ton of trades, unprofitable ones, so it was nice. Yeah, the Bulls they're trying to make this back. They're trying to get back above. We'll see. We will see what happens. Yeah, so here we did print another. Oh boy. So there's our warning, right? On the 1 minute, we have actually printed a higher buy signal on the 1 minute. Not saying that the 1 minute needs to invalidate this, but it's just a sign of strength, right? If I was worried about my short position, if my short wasn't a hedge right now, and it was more of just a position on its own, I would probably be looking at downsizing significantly just because of that warning. Obviously, we have mixed signals right now, because lower sell signal, higher buy signal. And generally, I do like those trending signals on the 5 minute more so than the 1 minute. But, it's at least worth considering that that's a sign of strength, in my opinion. And again, I think it's very possible that we end up blasting through resistance just because retail is starting to short into this resistance. I think that could very well be some rocket fuel for us. If the 5 minute prints a higher buy signal, I'll likely take another scalp, add another scalp position to the upside, and I would be looking at bumping up my invalidation to something like that. At this point, that is not invalidation of it. I would need that higher buy signal, and then I would consider this the pivot point for that, basically. But as it stands right now, still down here. We got the MDX Trendmaster flipping pink, so it is trying to print a higher buy signal again. And it's not like that works every single time, you guys. Well, obviously for the last few days, it sure has. But the beautiful thing about this, and I actually shared it here in my Telegram when we got that first higher buy signal here, I ended up basically mentioning that, that's the kind of opportunity where, although it may not play out in your favor, it's a scalp-sized risk versus a potential trend-sized move. And this is exactly what I mean, right? I mean, look at this. If my invalidation would have been basically, let me actually zoom in a little bit so I can get it more exact. But yeah, it was basically something like that. So when we got that buy signal, and whether you waited for the retest of this, whatever, I think my scalp entry on that one ended up being one. Maybe that's not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of one up here. Either way, it's the same concept, that you get that higher buy signal. You have a scalp-sized invalidation, right? If you were longing anywhere in here and your invalidation's below this purple line, look how big of a move we got from that. Right? We just kept printing higher buy signals, raising our invalidation as we climb. Right? Something like this with the next signal, then another signal, then another signal, and then the current signal that we have up here. So just a beautiful trend there, and just another way that I like using the Trendmaster for, I mean, exactly what the name says, right? It's a trend indicator. So if you can notice those scalp type of entries, you can get some very nice risk reward on some of those trades. You can get into some nice running positions off, like I said, which would basically be a scalp sized risk, right? So that's one of the main reasons why I absolutely love this indicator. Like, I mostly trade my fib setups, But as far as indicators go, the Trendmaster has been my favorite for a long time now. For those of you interested, I mean, it's not like I have magical settings or anything. If you want yours to look just like mine, there is an indicator preset for StuTube trading. You can't change anything with it then. There's actually a couple things I want to change, but I need to look into if I can get that done. But I would love to remove all these W's, all these P's and X's. I would just like the buy and sell signals with the trends. That would be ideal just because it would clean up the charts a lot. And I love having a nice, clean, sharp chart. But it is what it is. And yeah, I don't think there's any specific settings necessarily. Like, it's not that mine are magical, but I use that same type of strategy with other indicators. I'm sure it would be very similar on the Algo Master, similar on all sorts of indicators. I'm sure the Wave Master, you could look at where you get crosses or where you get whatever, see which way they're trending. I'm sure you could find other strategies that work out very much the same, that rather than each individual signal, actually looking at which way they're trending. I assume there's a lot of other indicators you could do that with. I haven't back tested them or anything. This is just the one that I use, but that's what I really like using it for. Obviously, you can zoom out and say, yeah, Stu, no shit, this is an uptrend. Yeah, but where are you trying to get your entries when you can get these signals with those nice tight invalidations with that? I mean, it just really helps you draw your eye to it, right? Yeah, it's a uptrend, but you know, up here, it would have looked a lot less obvious when we got this higher buy signal, except for the fact that we did get a higher buy signal. So again, that just gave a nice tight invalidation, and see what happens from there, right? So love this indicator. I think you can turn those off, man, easy enough in the indicator settings. I would agree with you, except since it's a preset, I can't change anything. Right, like if I get rid of the reversal warnings, the reversals, the reversal pivots, it will likely all stay the exact same because it's a preset. That's all. So I need one of the indicator specialists to actually do it for me, I think. Oh, some of them disappeared. Why did some of them disappear and some didn't? The reversal warnings never changed. Well, whatever. Slightly cleaner. Apparently I can change some of them. Ooh, in style. That would be reversal warnings. Oh, you guys are good. Oh, you guys are good. Look at that. You guys are teaching me stuff. I'm a tech boomer. I don't know how tech works. I trade it. I don't understand it. Here we go. Does that get rid of the bear? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's sharp. Yeah, that helps clean it up. Thanks, guys. Here, I thought I couldn't change my presets. I will get rid of those bears eventually, too. But, yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. No, Adrian, I just thought that if I couldn't change them, I even asked you about it one day. I just thought if I unchecked them in inputs and it never got rid of them, that I didn't realize that style had authority over that. But yeah, what are we looking at? The 1 minute. Ooh, still struggling a little bit. Notice on the one, check this out, guys. I know this is microanalyzing, but look at this. We lost some structure here. We pull a fib. We get a Stuber fib rejection, and we are about to hit the second target there. So obviously not every single range is worth trading, but just to show you how often and on all types of time frames and all types of sizes, how you see basic market structure doing basic market structure things. The thing is, if you pull a range that small, then yeah, that means your first couple of take profits are also very close. Whatever size range that I'm pulling my fibs on, that is the range that I'm playing first with the first half of my position. And from there, if it runs, fantastic. Maybe I didn't ask you that specifically. I asked who was working on the indicators because I wanted something on mine changed. So I guess I never specifically asked that. All good. All good. Maybe I'm just crazy. There's a good chance. So yeah, still have mixed signals on the 1 minute, lower trending sell signals, higher trending buy signals. 5 minute, I'd really like to see if we see basically a lower sell signal on the 5 minute at some point. I think I'm going to add some short exposure to Bitcoin just because of where we're seeing this rejection from. I'm not bearish, but this could be a very large bearish turning point that blindsides everyone. And if it happens, I don't want to be blindsided is all. Yeah, we'll get there. We're figuring it out. Us and our big smooth brains can figure this out. But yeah, guys, basically, as I said, actually, I want to just change the colors here. Ooh, yeah, even a 4-hour candle, a red candle along that 786 could still obviously go higher, but there's just some signs of weakness right at a macro resistance level. So, again, guys, before I end this stream, understand that we are just at the start of resistance. We could go significantly higher, especially the fact that retail is trying to short this move. Just understand that anything is possible. Anytime you think to yourself, this has to happen, that is when the market is going to sucker punch you and you are going to feel it. So always understand that the market does not give a shit about our feelings or opinions and that anything can happen. And that's exactly why we map things out, we backtest charts, we play our probabilities, and we protect ourselves and lock in profits when we can. That's basically the game of trading. So again, guys, those of you guys here with me right now, as well as those of you who are going to be watching this on my StuTube Trading YouTube channel after it's posted there, do me a favor and subscribe to my new channel where I will be doing several public live streams throughout the weeks. Several a week moving forward, brand new. So do me a favor, follow me there if you don't want to miss my live streams. They'll be a little shorter there. They'll be more like 20-30 minutes typically. And yeah, just trading anything crypto. So do yourselves a favor, subscribe there, and do me the favor. Let's be honest. The follows, the likes, the subscribes on a new channel with only 300 subs like that, which by the way, I'm actually pretty pumped that after only a couple weeks it's that high. Took years for my main channel to hit over 1,000, so very cool. But yeah, it goes a long way with the algorithm for such a new channel, so seriously appreciate it, my friends. And yeah, head on a swivel, guys. Just understand that we are starting to test resistance. Things are a little bit tricky. Try to keep your emotions in check because things could get wild here for the next little bit. And yeah, with that, I'm out. Thank you so much for being here with me, my friends. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.